Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to After the Sirens and leave a comment below, because this channel exists for people who care deeply about history, preparedness, and, the lessons we are quietly forgetting. If you value serious research and overlook truths, this is where those conversations happen. When most people think about survival during World War II, they think of soldiers, weapons, and massive military operations. What they rarely think about is the ordinary civilian standing watch at night, the neighbor tracking unfamiliar movement, or the quiet system of local alerts that prevented entire neighborhoods from vanishing in a single raid. This video explores one of the most underestimated survival strategies of the Second World War: community-based neighborhood watch systems. These were not symbolic gestures. They were disciplined, organized, and in many cases more effective than formal authorities during moments of chaos. Understanding how these systems worked reveals not only how civilians survived total war, but why modern societies remain dangerously vulnerable without them. During World War II, governments quickly realized that centralized control alone could not protect civilians from bombings, sabotage, fires, and internal collapse. In Britain, Germany, occupied Europe, and parts of Asia, authorities relied heavily on local residents to serve as observers, messengers, and first responders. These neighborhood watch systems were formalized through civil defense units, air raid wardens, fire watchers, and block captains. Their purpose was simple but profound: detect danger early, communicate it fast, and respond before authorities could arrive. Unlike modern neighborhood watch programs, these systems operated under constant threat. Watch members were trained to recognize aircraft types by sound, spot incendiary bombs before they ignited buildings, identify unfamiliar individuals during blackouts, and enforce light discipline to prevent enemy targeting. Survival depended on vigilance, not convenience. In cities like London, Coventry, Hamburg, and Tokyo, air raid wardens were assigned to small geographic zones they knew intimately. They memorized building layouts, shelter locations, and resident vulnerabilities. When sirens sounded, wardens ensured civilians moved quickly, doors were sealed, and fires were reported immediately. This decentralized vigilance prevented panic. When bombs fell, wardens coordinated rescue efforts long before military or fire brigades arrived. In London, during the Blitz, entire streets were saved because neighbors spotted incendiary devices within seconds and extinguished them using sand buckets and water pumps. The lesson here is not romanticized resilience, but operational efficiency. Small, informed units outperform distant authorities during fast-moving crises. One of the most critical roles of World War II neighborhood watches involved blackout enforcement. A single uncovered window could guide enemy bombers. Neighbors were encouraged and sometimes required to report light leaks immediately. This was not about control. It was about collective survival. In practice, this meant people took responsibility for each other's safety. Watch members conducted nightly patrols, knocked on doors, and corrected violations calmly but firmly. The practical takeaway is that shared standards, clearly communicated and locally enforced, create resilience without coercion. Modern preparedness groups can apply this by establishing agreed-upon emergency protocols long before crises occur. In occupied territories, informal neighborhood watch systems played an even more dangerous role. Civilians quietly tracked unfamiliar movements, sudden changes in behavior, and suspicious activity. In France, Poland, and the Netherlands, this intelligence saved resistance cells and exposed collaborators. These systems worked because neighbors understood normal patterns. When something deviated, it was noticed immediately. The step-by-step process was simple: observe consistently, document discreetly, communicate through trusted channels, and avoid centralized exposure. Actually, this structure mirrors modern decentralized resilience planning and, remains relevant for disaster response, cyber disruptions, and infrastructure failures. Fire was the greatest killer during bombing campaigns. Incendiary raids were designed to overwhelm firefighting services. Neighborhood fire watchers were trained to respond instantly using basic tools placed on rooftops and stairwells. In Hamburg's 1943 firestorm, survival rates were highest in districts where fire watchers acted within the first minute. That window mattered more than any later intervention. The modern application is clear: early response beats advanced response. Communities today can replicate this by training volunteers in basic fire suppression, medical aid, and communication drills. Beyond physical survival, neighborhood watch systems stabilized morale. Knowing someone was watching reduced fear and panic. People slept better during bombings because someone else was awake. This distributed responsibility prevented mass psychological collapse, which was one of the enemy's primary objectives. From a survivalist perspective, morale is infrastructure. Communities that communicate, rotate duties, and acknowledge shared risk endure longer under stress. World War II demonstrated that resilience is not individual toughness, but collective reliability. Modern societies face different threats, but the principles remain unchanged. Establishing micro-communities with defined roles, shared communication plans, and basic training dramatically increases survival odds during blackouts, disasters, or supply disruptions. The World War II model shows that authority is most effective when local knowledge leads action. A practical starting point today involves mapping your immediate area, identifying skills among neighbors, establishing emergency signals, and rehearsing response steps quietly and respectfully. This is not paranoia. It is preparedness rooted in historical evidence. World War II revealed a truth many societies have since ignored. Survival is local before it is national. Neighborhood watch systems were not auxiliary efforts. They were the front line of civilian survival. Relearning these lessons is not about nostalgia, it is about continuity of knowledge. If you found value in this deep dive, subscribe to After the Sirens, share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and leave a comment with your thoughts or questions. The past still has work to do, and this channel exists to make sure its lessons are not lost again.